Hello, my name is Georgia and today I will be guiding you through a slow flow sequence. This sequence will run for around an hour and we will be focusing on the whole body, in particular opening up the chest and the hips, particularly for those who spend a bit of time sitting. I've tailored the sequence so that you shouldn't need any props, but if you do use props as part of your practice, then go ahead and do so. You might want to turn your phone on silent to avoid any distractions, so it's just you, me and the mat today. So go ahead, just grab anything you need and I will join you in a moment. So today we'll get started in a seated position. However, if this is uncomfortable for you, just rolling up into a kneeling position or even seated with the legs out in front. We'll start with a bit of breathing, just coming into the body, taking the awareness out from the external and into the body, into the mind. So just setting up your position with a nice elongated spine, lifting from the sacrum all the way up to the crown of the head. And then if you're comfortable, just closing down the eyes or gently gazing down to the floor. Lifting up through the sternum ever so slightly, sitting nice, tall and proud, and connecting to the breath. Just start by noticing the natural and effortless inhale and exhale. Perhaps becoming aware of the cool air coming in the nostrils and the warm air coming out of the nostrils as you breathe. Just taking notice of any thoughts passing by, any stories that your mind is creating, and then just coming back to the breath. We will now activate diaphragmatic breath, so just breathing deep into the belly. If it helps, you can imagine as you inhale a balloon inflating in the belly, and as you exhale, the balloon deflating. So just continuing to breathe, just directing the breath down into the belly. Our body associates diaphragmatic breathing with our rest and digest response. So when we breathe into the belly, we're sending a message to the body to rest, to relax, and come back to a state of ease. Continuing to breathe smooth and slow. And as we go through this sequence today, just remembering that you know your body best, and although I may guide you into position, if it doesn't work for you, just taking rest at any time. Before we begin, just taking a few moments now to set your intention for the class. So your intention may be in the form of a mantra or simply a positive affirmation such as I am loved, that you can repeat silently in the mind 3 times and then bring the hands to heart center. You can release the hands to either side now. We'll get started in our warm-ups. So just creating some little teepees on either side of the hips with your hands. We'll start with neck stretches. So gently lowering the left ear toward the left shoulder, opening up through the right side of the neck. We'll just take one more full breath cycle here. And then return the head back to neutral. Now lowering to the other side. Breathing smooth and slow. One more breath. And return the neck back to neutral. Now gently lower the chin down to the chest. Opening through the back of the neck. One more breath. And then lifting the chin up toward the sky, opening through the front of the throat. One more breath. And returning back to neutral. And we'll start with some shoulder stretches. So just taking the right elbow first of all, pointing it up toward the sky. Then take a hold with that left hand. Just gently stretching that shoulder joint. If it's available to you, you can reach around behind and take a bind. Interlacing the fingertips. Just making sure that the back of the head is pressing against the forearm and you're maintaining that nice elongated spine all the way up through the crown of the head. And slowly release. We'll move to the other side now, maybe shaking it out a little bit. Then taking the left elbow, pointing it up toward the sky. The hand sits in between the shoulder blades. Just gently pulling as we ease into this warm-up. And again, taking the bind if it's in your practice. Couple more breaths here. And release. Now we'll go ahead and roll forward onto the hands and knees into a tabletop position. So we want the shoulders stacked over the wrist and the hips stacked over the knees here. We're going to bring some elasticity into the spine now with some cat-cow. So on the inhale, we drop the belly, arching the back. Tailbone points up to the sky. On the exhale, we're doming the back, peeling the tailbone down toward the ground. The head and neck relaxes. Inhale. Arch the back, look up. Exhale. And do a few more of these, just linking the movement with your own breath. Inhaling to arch the back. Exhale, doming the back. One more. And then we'll move straight into a downward dog. So just stacking the toes, lifting the hips and the knees, sending them back, and just finding some comfort in your first downward dog. We'll come back to that belly breath here. And just remembering that if your breath becomes constricted at any time throughout the practice, to just ease out of the pose, find smoothness in the breath, and then ease back in. We will now take a little mindful stroll up to the front of the mat and meet in forward fold. So just gently walking the feet all the way to the front of the mat, releasing the head and neck, and just hanging loose here. Perhaps taking ragdoll opposite elbows. And then releasing the arms, let them hang loose from the shoulders as we roll up slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae, the head being the last thing to come up. And then we'll find ourselves in standing mountain pose. So just checking your alignment here. Both feet firmly planted on the ground, engaging through the kneecaps. Tailbone points down to the ground. Palms facing forward. Again, standing tall and proud in a dignified posture with the sternum slightly lifted. We'll take a couple of unifying breaths all together before we get started in a sun salutation. On the next inhale, hands to rise. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, nice flat back. Spreading the shoulders. And exhale, fold. Let the head and neck relax. On the inhale, plant the hands that will step back into a plank. We'll first drop down the knees as we come through the vinyasa. Keeping the elbows tucked into the side body, we shift the hips forward and lower the chest down with control. On the inhale, we'll come into a baby cobra, so engaging the upper back muscles here. You can even try lifting the hands off the mat. On the next exhale, stack the toes and we'll press up and back and into down the dog. On the inhale, look forward, travel forward, and back into a halfway lift. And exhale into a forward fold. On the inhale, we'll rise up, either rolling up or taking the arms out to the side. And meeting back where we started in standing mountain pose. Again, we'll just take one unifying breath all together, inhaling through the nose. Take an open mouth exhale. And we'll go through that again. Inhale, the arms to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Nice flat back. Exhale, fold. Release. On the inhale, plant the hands and step back to plank. This time you can try coming through a full vinyasa. If it's in your practice, so shift the weight slightly forward, again keeping the elbows tucked in and lowering the chest down halfway with control. And then sliding onto the tops of our feet for upward dog. On the exhale, bringing the hips up and back, downward dog. Inhale, looking forward and traveling forward into a halfway lift. Exhale, fold, release. Inhale, hands to rise. And exhale, back to standing mountain. And this time we'll come through sun salutation B. So just with a slight variation, adding warrior one. We'll take one breath together before we begin, inhaling through the nose. And exhaling through the mouth. Inhale, hands to sky. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Inhale, stepping back to plank. Your choice now, either full or modified chaturanga. So we lower the chest on the exhale and inhale into either upward dog or baby cobra. And exhale to downward dog. This time on the inhale, we raise the right leg up and straight out behind, pressing out through the heel, toes point towards the ground. And then exhale, contract that knee, bring it up in toward the chest, and then gently place that foot down in between the hands. We'll drop the back heel and point the back toes toward the left side of the mat. Arms come up to frame the face, and we sink down into that front knee. We'll stay here for a couple more breaths, aiming to have that knee stacked over the front ankle and the hips and shoulders facing toward the front of the mat. We'll inhale together and exhale. Come back and down through your flow, stepping back, exhaling down. Inhale to upward dog or baby cobra. And exhale back to downward dog. Just taking a breath here. And then starting on the left side, inhale the left leg up. Heel presses out, toes point down. And exhale, contract, bring that knee up toward the chest. Gently placing the foot between the hands, dropping the back heel. Bringing the arms up to the sky. Breathing smooth and slow here. Inhale together. And exhale, coming down and through your flow, stepping back, either full or modified chaturanga. And meeting in downward dog. Again, we'll take another mindful stroll, walking to the front of the mat, coming into a halfway lift. Exhale, release into a fold, and inhale, hands to sky. Exhale, back to standing mountain. We'll take one breath together before beginning again. Starting to damp up the flow now. Maybe feeling some heat in your body. On the next inhale, breathing in through the nose. Open mouth, exhale. Let it all go. Inhale, hands to sky. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release. Inhale, step back to plank, come through your chosen vinyasa. And meeting in downward dog. Inhale the right leg up this time. Exhale to contract the knee, bring the foot in between the hands. And we'll drop the back knee, setting up for a low lunge. Now you've got choices here to either have the arms down on the hips or up to the sky. If you want to incorporate a chest opener, you can also interlace the fingertips behind the glutes. Aim to bring the palms together and then send the energy out through the fists as you direct the hands toward the ground. Again, we like the knee stacked over the ankle here. You can place a little blanket under that back knee if it's causing you grief. Now you should feel an opening through that front left hip flexor. Just one more full breath here. And then we'll release straight into a runner's lunge. So just strengthen that the toes up toward the sky. Again, you've got options here to have the arms directly down, or if you want to incorporate the balance factor into it, you can bring the hands up to the hips. Just noticing any subtle movements that you can make that either intensify the stretch or ease the stretch. Remembering to just be kind to yourself. One more breath. And then rolling back onto the sole of the foot, we walk the hands out to frame that front foot, and we're moving into a dragon pose. So you want to take that right hand and bring it on the inner side of that right foot. Pivot the foot out to the right side of the mat. And this may be enough for you here in pigeon pose, working into the hips. Otherwise, follow me for some extensions. You can roll over onto the pinky toe edge of that foot and even press into the inner edge of that right knee to intensify the stretch. If you want a 2-for-1 deal, you can lift up that back leg, bend the knee, then reach back for those toes. Incorporating a quad stretch into this as well now. Just one more breath here. And then slowly we'll come out as we came in. So first, bringing the right hand to the outer edge of the foot, we pivot the right foot back to the centre of the mat. Lift up off that back knee, keep the back leg engaged, and then stepping back into a plank. We'll come through your vinyasa, through upward dog or baby cobra, and then meeting back in downward dog. And now inhale the left leg up and out behind. Then exhale, contract that knee, bring that foot in between the hands. Gently lower that back leg, resting up for a low lunge. Ideally, just taking the same arm position that you did on the other side. I'm going to incorporate a chest opener into this. You feel a nice stretch in that right hip flexor. Just noticing if you're holding any tension in the body, such as that front foot and the toes, or even in the face, and just softening that. Couple more breaths here. And now bringing the hands back down to frame the foot as we set up for a runner's lunge. We straighten that front leg, point the toes up to the sky. And either having the hands on the ground or taking a balance posture, the hands on the hips. Couple more breaths. Again, just noticing the subtleties in the body as you stretch. Okay, rolling back onto the sole of the foot, we set up for a dragon pose. So bringing that left hand on the inner side of that left foot, pivoting the left foot out to the left side of the mat. Either staying here, rolling over into the pinky side of the foot, the hips pressing into that left knee, or even taking the right side quad along for the ride and reaching back the right toes. And again, just going into this pose however far that you need to, whatever works for your body. 2 more breaths. And slowly coming out as we came in, the left hand plants down to the mat, bringing the left foot into the centre of the mat. We lift off that back knee, engage the back leg and then step back into a plank. Coming through your vinyasa. Remembering that the vinyasas are an offering and you can skip them at any time. And just take a rest or come straight to downward dog. Or drop down into a child's pose or extended child's pose. On the next inhale, we'll look forward and travel forward into a halfway lift. Exhale, release. Inhale the hands to the sky. And back to standing mountain pose. Take a couple of unifying breaths together here, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And now, hands to sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold, release the neck. Pull out the hands on the inhale, step back to plank, come through your flow or take rest. Sometimes the repetitive movement on the shoulders can be a bit much, so maybe alternate between modified and full chaturanga. And then we all meet in downward dog once again. Inhale the right leg up to the sky. Exhale, contract that knee, bring it into the chest. Pull out the foot in between the hands. And we're coming up into a high lunge now. So arms come up to frame the face. The back heel remains lifted. We sink down into that front knee. And breathe. Couple more breaths. Then from here, we're going to transition straight into a balanced pose, so straight into warrior 3. So you might want to practice just lifting off the weight from that back foot and into the front foot, and when you're ready, tilting the whole body forward and into a nice T shape. Remembering to keep the back leg engaged by pressing out through the heel, pointing the toes toward the ground, just as we do in three-legged dog. And again, just noticing if there's any tension. It doesn't need to be there, and softening it as you hold this balanced pose. We're trying to keep both of the hips in alignment with each other. You can swing the hands down to align with the hips as well. So a couple more breaths. And as we come out of this pose, you may like to bend the knees slightly and just drop the foot down. We're going to move straight into a pyramid pose, or as some would say, intense leg stretch. So you want that back foot pointing toward the front of the mat, and your stance to be a little bit shorter than in the high lunge. So with the hips facing forward, we're just hinging from the hips, leading with the chest. And just going only until you hear your back of your leg screaming. Remembering to be kind to yourself here and just noticing how the subtle changes of your movement intensify the stretch. Just a couple more breaths. Okay, bringing the upper body back to neutral now. We'll move back into a high lunge, preparing to come down through that flow. So as you exhale, hands come down to frame the foot, we step back, coming through your chosen flow. Moving with the breath from the inhale. And on the exhale, we meet in downward dog. Just taking a couple of breaths here and rest. And then on the inhale, we lift the left leg now. And then exhale, contract the knee, place the foot in between the hands, lift up the arms for a high lunge. Sink down into the pose, but try to keep the back leg engaged and as straight as possible. The hips and the shoulders are facing forward and the gaze is slightly up, so keeping a nice proud posture here. Just watching if that front knee rolls inwards, noticing if you can see your big toe. And energy all the way up through the fingertips, so the fingertips are spread nice and wide and reaching up to the sky. And just as we did on the other side, we'll move straight into a balance, into warrior three. So you might want to play with either shortening the stance, just gently lifting off those back toes, and then when you're ready, moving forward, tilting the body into a nice T shape, either extending your arms out in front for the full extension of the pose, or swinging the arms back to align with the hips. And the main thing is just keeping that back leg engaged, pointing the toes down toward the ground, heel pressing out as if there's an imaginary wall in behind there. If you're shaking like me, the teacher's voice rings in my head. Shaking is good for you. Just a couple more breaths. Okay, and gently lowering down, setting up for a pyramid pose. It's a nice shorter stance here. The back foot is facing toward the front of the mat, hands are on the hips, front leg is straight. We're hinging at the hips, leading with the chest, keeping the back nice and straight as we tilt forward only as far as we need to go to really feel that stretch. One more breath. And then bringing the upper body back to neutral. We'll sit up in a high lunge just briefly. Inhaling here. And then exhaling down to frame that front foot. Step back, come through your flow. Just a few breaths here and rest, perhaps dropping the knees, coming into extended child's pose. 5 breaths. But why not take rest? Coming back to your own body. Noticing how it feels to move the body, to be with yourself, do a bit of self-care. Breathe deep. Okay, and then just bring yourself back into a tabletop position. Stack the toes and lift the hips up into a downward dog. Walk forward, coming into a forward fold. And then we'll rise up, either hands to the side or rolling up. Back to standing mountain. Here we are again. Arms facing forward. Quads engaged, sternum slightly lifted, standing tall and proud like the noble and dignified human that you are, and just coming back to the breath. On the next inhale, we'll flow again, so inhaling the hands to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release the head and neck. Inhale, step back to plank. Come through your vinyasa, either modified or full. And push back to downward dog. We're going to roll straight back into a plank. And your choice either now to test the shoulder strength and lower the chest all the way down to the mat, or drop the knees. Your choice here. We're going to meet in the prone position. So first, just flowing through some baby cobras on the inhale, lifting up, engaging those upper back muscles, shoulder blades squeezed together. And exhale, release. The forehead kisses the mat. And then we go again, inhale, contracting the upper back, perhaps lifting the hands off the mat as well, just to test that. And then exhale, release, forehead kisses the mat. One more time, inhale, lifting up, looking up, and exhale, let your forehead kiss the mat. Turn the head to one side and we'll just take a rest, so just let the hands fall on either side of the hips. The next pose we'll go into is locust pose, another back strengthening pose. So just interlacing the fingertips behind the glutes, let the shoulders open up. And then on the inhale, lifting both of the legs up, trying to lift all the way up to the thighs. The hips are planted. If you can, try to bring the toes together. Otherwise the feet are okay, being hip width distance apart. Again, lifting up, just maybe get yourself a little bit more lift. Holding here for a couple more breaths. And release. Turn onto the other cheek this time. Close down the eyes. Take a few breaths and rest. And one last pose for the back. We'll just extend both of the palms out the front, palms facing in toward each other, going into Superman pose, keeping the gaze down toward the ground. We lift up all four limbs this time. So the belly and the hips are grounded into the mat, and all four limbs are lifted and strong. Energy out through the fingertips, out through the toes. Just a couple more breaths here. Beautiful, and for rest this time, just taking the hands to either side of the chest. We'll press back into a tabletop. And continue bringing the hips down toward the heels. Take the knees out wide, extend the arms out in front. Coming into extended child's pose now. Five breaths here, perhaps letting some heat out with some open mouth exhales. Okay, coming back into a tabletop position. Bring the knees in underneath the hips. We'll drop down. Now and swaying the legs out to the front. So go this way. We'll just wake up the core a little bit first. We'll go into a boat. So first again, lifting through the sternum, keeping the chest nice and open. Maybe this is where you come to, making a V with your upper body and the upper legs. And that's okay, just holding that. Otherwise, just lifting both the feet off the ground and trying to make the lower legs parallel with the earth. Again, you can hold in behind the thighs, you can extend the arms out in front, or you could extend the arms to either side. There's another extension if you want to extend both of the legs. We're just coming back to a regular boat. I'll be here for one more breath. And release. Awesome. And now we'll come into Dandasana, so just extending the legs out long. Again, you want to press out through the heels, pull the toes in towards you. Lifting and elongating through the spine. We're just going to come into a forward fold. First inhaling the arms up to the sky, and again hinging from the hips, leading with the chest. Just going until you feel that stretch, and then just allowing the hands to fall wherever they fall. Two more breaths here. Okay, and release. Now we'll just do the same thing, but just with one leg. So first taking one leg, maybe bringing it in to the inner thigh, wherever feels most comfortable for you. We sit up again, pointing the toes toward the roof. Inhaling the hands to the sky and exhaling, leaning forward. Just noticing. Noticing how different the stretch feels when you've just got one leg out in front of you. Noticing if you're relaxing through the foot, just trying to keep the whole leg engaged. Noticing if the breath is deep or shallow. And releasing. Maybe shake out that leg. And switch it to the other side now, bringing it into the inner thigh. Energy out through the heel, inhaling the arms up, and exhale, leaning forward. For me on this side, I'm feeling it more in my left hip. So maybe just taking the time to notice any differences in your body from one leg to the other. Keep breathing in and out through the nostrils. And release. And now we get ready to come onto our backs. So just taking the hands underneath the thighs. We'll slowly roll down, just noticing each vertebrae as it hits the mat, until the shoulders and the head melt into the mat. We'll walk the heels in towards the glutes, so you may be able to tickle them with your fingers. The palms face down on the mat. We're coming into a bridge. On the inhale, lifting the hips up. Perhaps interlacing the fingertips behind the glutes and bringing in another chest opener. Walking the shoulder blades together. You'll notice the glutes want to engage here. You can actually just power through the feet and try to release the glutes. Watch if the knees are splaying apart. You might want to imagine an orange in between the knees. And the gaze is just up to the roof. One more breath. And releasing the interlaced fingertips, palms down to the mat, and then this time rolling down from the neck down to the sacrum, noticing each vertebra hitting the mat. We will now come into a figure four stretch. So you want to take that right ankle, cross it over the left knee. Maybe this isn't enough for you here, otherwise you can reach through, take a hold of it behind that left thigh. You want to keep both feet engaged here as well, so keeping the feet flexed. If you want to go even further, you can press the elbow into the inner thigh on the right side. And even gently rock the left leg back and forward. And then slowly coming out, just taking the hands to a nice T shape or a cactus if you've got someone beside you. And then we'll keep the legs in position going straight over into a spinal twist. So you can grab a hold of that right knee and pull it over to the left. Either stay keeping the legs in position or pulling that knee all the way down, increasing the stretch. Turn the head to the opposite side of the knees. And you can close down the eyes here if you like. We'll be here for about 5 breaths. Okay, now release, bringing both feet back to that starting bridge position. Setting yourself up to start the figure 4 stretch on the other side. The left foot comes over to the right knee, either staying here or reaching and interlacing the fingertips behind the right thigh. Just setting up as you did on the other side. As the practice slows down and we hold the poses a little longer, it's a nice opportunity to put a bit more focus on the breath. Just practicing that deep breathing, signaling to the body that all is well in your world. No need to stress. Fight and flight can turn off. And if the mind is wandering, just remembering that breath is an anchor back to this present moment. So bringing your awareness to the breath will ground you to the here and now. And then setting up for spinal twist on the other side. So just taking a hold of that left knee, taking it over to the right, turning the gaze to the opposite side of the knee. And just holding here for about 5 breaths. And release. We'll take the knees into the chest now, grabbing a hold, giving yourself a big hug. You can take the forehead out to the knees and just try squeezing yourself into a tight little ball. Actually just squeezing everything from the toes to the fingers to the face, to the glutes, to the chest, to the abdominals, to the thighs, just squeezing yourself tight. And release everything out long. We're heading into our last pose, Shavasana. So if there's anything that you need to do at this point, perhaps grabbing a blanket or a pillow underneath the head, just doing so now. Making sure you're nice and comfortable so you can stay still for the entire Shavasana. First, just letting the arms hang, the legs hang. The toes and the ankles relax and roll slightly outward. The shoulder blades can walk in together slightly so they can become flush with the mat. And you may notice a slight curl in your fingertips as your arms slightly relaxed. Just scan through the body now, so as I name a different body part, just bringing your awareness to that area and softening it, starting with the face, the forehead, the eyebrows, and the eyes. Soften. The cheeks, teeth, tongue and jaw soften and become deeply relaxed. Scanning down the neck to the shoulders, perhaps becoming aware of the points of contact between the shoulders and the mat. Scanning down Just bringing your awareness now back to the heart center. And just hold your awareness here. Perhaps noticing subtle sensations such as the heart beating. Or just even any subtle changes to your emotional state as you hold your awareness on the heart space. Perhaps even thinking of those who you love dearly. Scanning down to the belly and noticing the breath coming in and out and the gentle rise and fall of the abdomen. Scanning down to the hips and the glutes, just noticing the glutes relax and melting into the mat. Scanning down the legs, the thighs, the hamstrings, the knees and the knee joint, the lower legs, the ankles and the feet relax. Becoming aware of the whole body, from the crown of the head out the fingers and the toes, deeply relaxed and laying over the floor. And now, opening the lungs to receive the deepest breath of the day. Perhaps bring some movement into the fingers and the toes, or extending the arms up and overhead as if for a stretch of the day. Then just moving slowly, we'll roll over into a fetal position, cradling the head and bending the knees as we're about to transition back into a seat where we started, pressing down into the floor and back to a seat. And we'll finish just by coming back to your intention that you set at the beginning of class and just repeating that silently in the mind 3 times once again. And now we'll just bring the arms back into heart center. I'll just finish the class by saying it's a pleasure to teach today. I hope you enjoyed. Namaste.